Someone recently sent in an article, and I thought this was kind of funny. The article is called Stop Using User Stories. And at first, I have to admit, I had a cringe moment. I'm like, oof, is it going to be another one of those? And it starts out as product managers, we prioritize our backlog items based on user stories. Let's stop. That's typically not how I prioritize my backlog, but we'll keep going and see where he takes this. But I have seen a very fundamental problem with the way we approach writing each user story. Traditional user stories, despite their popularity, often fail to clearly define what we're building and why. Okay, that I can get on board with. I think that the way traditional user stories are typically structured, there's not enough detail. So, user stories are simple descriptions of features from the perspective of an end user. They help the team focus on delivering value rather than implementing features. Right track. A traditional user story says, as a user type, I want to do this action so that I can receive this benefit. Or as a who, I would like to do what so that why. That's the way I like to put it. As you can see, every user story tries to capture who needs the feature, what they want to do, and why it matters to them. It's very simple to understand, but this simplicity can create problems. Let's see what his problem is. The main challenge for traditional user stories is that they don't distinguish between system-oriented needs and custom-oriented needs. When a story says, as a user, I want to view my transaction history so that I can track my spending. It doesn't specify these four things clearly. What is the time period we should display? Should we also display all the pending transactions? How should we go about categorizing the transactions? What filtering options should we give our customers? Let's pause there. I get where this is going, but I think that if we put more granularity, it actually may be bad for some people because then people have another decision to make. One of the hardest things about Agile right now is all the decisions that need to be made. And I just sense that people would feel very uneasy making even more and more decisions. And this is just adding another decision to their plate. He says that's why we need to split stories before it can be usable. And as a result, we lose time. I've seen my team spending entire sprint planning sessions just to break down these vague stories into implementable chunks using the invest format. So he's proposing two different types of stories. System stories that focus on the internal work, bug fixes, and performance improvements that don't directly involve end users. And that story will be written action, verb, subject so that what or goal is achieved. Implement a caching system so that page load times are reduced by 50%. This format works well for technical debt, infrastructure improvements, and system enhancements. It doesn't force technical work into the user-centric framework. And then outcome stories focus on specific user needs in a very particular situation. And that would be when this opportunity happens, I want this action or activity so that I can achieve this outcome. Okay, let's just stop there. There's a lot more to the story, but I am going to stop there. Here's what I know. In my world, or in the world of what I call simple Agile or easy Agile, what you end up doing is everything is a story of some type. Now, hear me out. We might have feature-driven stories. We may have enhancement stories, enabler stories, defect stories. They're all different types of stories. The intent of using the story designation is so that each story can be allotted story points, can be broken down, can be allocated across teams, can be rolled up to a larger item. We just want to keep it simple by calling all things story. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm not opposed to changing the description to reflect what type of story it is. So one of the things I think people miss out on is that all stories aren't just one type. All stories aren't user stories. So what I'm saying is, while I agree with what you're saying, I think it's causing a little bit of confusion. If everything's a story and then you say what type of story, and then based on what type of story it is, you edit the description to match what you're trying to say, then I'm fully on board with what you're saying. But if you're saying that we need to now designate or create different types of stories and dictate that inside of our tool and separate it and break it out and have teams break it down further in sprint planning, I don't think all that's necessary. I think keeping it simple is the best option, allowing the team to define with the product owner how that description should be formatted, and then figuring out ways to guide each other so that that format is maximized and works best for everybody. That's going to bring you the best results. Don't strain so hard. I would rather see you strain so hard in keeping things small in size than in trying to designate all the different types that you've been talking about. So for me, just remember, everything is going to be a story. Everything is going to be based somewhat on outcome. And depending on a story type, your description can change. So this way, everything's a story, everything gets story points, everything's good to go. The team knows exactly what they need to do with it, and they're not spinning their wheels trying to, come up formulate a description that doesn't fit into the type of story. They're just leveraging everything in such a way that it makes life a lot easier. So that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care. Bye now.